Freedom. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome, one and all. You're watching What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. Ladies and gentlemen, government is slavery. Always has been, is now, always will be. And here on What on Earth is Happening, we are ending slavery one mind at a time. Thank you for tuning in today. Today is Sunday, April 23rd, 2023. This is show number 271 of What on Earth is Happening. If you are a new viewer, you should not watch the show from this point. You should go back to episode number 1, and you should listen and watch the episodes in order at your own pace. That is how you will fully realize the tapestry of this information and get the most benefit out of it. We have a great show lined up for you here today. Today, my special guest will be Jay Parker of the Center Path, ritual satanic abuse survivor and expert in the field of the occult. So we'll be talking to Jay in just a few moments after I go over some of my announcements. Let me jump over to my laptop and go through the announcements section, and then we'll bring my special guest, Jay Parker, on. Thank you, as always, to Will Keller for the great artwork that he produces each week. Definitely check Will out on One Great Work Network. We are on a 2-hour schedule for the show format this year. That may change and go back to 3 hours, either later this season or early or next season. So we're on a 6-month schedule from January through June. Of course, in the second half of the year, I teach the How to Become the True Media seminar, which is coming at us very rapidly. And I want to briefly talk about that. So the How to Become the True Media seminar is an online technology skill sharing seminar coming up from July 10th of 2023 all the way through December 11th of this year for a total of 23 class sessions. Basically, what I teach in this seminar is all of the technical information that you need to know to disseminate this type of information. If you're going to be a truth broadcaster in this field of endeavor in attempting to enlighten and wake up humanity, this is the class that you're going to want to take. This seminar is unique in that it's going to provide all of the necessary, not only technical skill sets, but honestly, life skill sets that one is going to need to know to be a broadcaster of this type of information and do it in an effective way. So classes happen each Monday evening of the week from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m., 3 hours of formal class instruction. We have a 1-hour pre-class from 7 to 8 to allow students to show up in the Telegram call that we host. And then we do a at least 1 hour Q&A session with me, with all the students in the after class. And then I usually let the after class run for an additional 2 hours after that so that students can just interact with each other and talk amongst each other. So it ends up being an entire evening, 1 day a week for 23 weeks. There is limited seminar space available, and I want to just briefly talk with people about that. We are definitely under schedule this year as far as the pace of how many people are joining. So I'm just going to encourage more people. If you want to see the world change, if you want to see people really begin to truly learn morality, truly learn natural law and objective morality, if you have not yet made the full understanding that we are going to have to do that through technological means to disseminate the word out to the population, we have to become the true media with speaking the true message of objective morality and natural law that will override the dark occult spell of the traditional mockingbird media. And if you haven't made that recognition by this point, I don't really know what to tell you. And what I would tell you is you should take the How to Become the True Media seminar, and you'll fully understand what truly needs to be done. This is a call to action, is what How to Become the True Media truly is. And I still just think people underestimate the power and importance of technology in this entire endeavor. They still don't understand how it's connected. I'm going to have to do a whole presentation on this at some future point, maybe later this year, maybe early next year, called Morality and Technology. I'm going to call it The Only Solution, Morality and Technology. And once again, that goes back to the adage that there are only two ways that humanity can ever truly help itself, through philosophy and through technology. That is it. There are no other ways that humanity solves problems, especially self-inflicted problems. We solve problems through philosophical understanding of reality, and we solve problems through the extension of our bodies and minds, which is technology. And if people, again, still haven't made that fundamental recognition, I feel very sorry for you as an adult, to be quite honest. There's something not quite right going on up there if you haven't made that fundamental recognition yet. And, it's a shame to have to even say it in an insulting fashion like that, but more people need some prodding when it comes to really understanding what the solutions are to the problems that we're facing. The people are really none too bright about getting it and understanding what needs to be done. They think they need to vote for some savior or politician, or it's just ridiculous where people's minds are still at. So, my ultimate request to people is learn what really needs to be done from ourselves. We're the solution. Our action is the solution, and this seminar is a call to that action. It's a call to learning how to do that action, okay? And don't be a ludtard, my word that I've coined, a Luddite retard, right? Don't be a ludtard. All right, ludtards are people who are afraid of technology, who know nothing about technology, who don't want to learn technology, who don't think technology is important in disseminating the message of freedom and truth and natural law and objective morality. And if you don't understand those things, you have no clue, number one, what's really going on, number two, how to solve what's going on. You have zero clue. This seminar is going to help you get a clue. It's not only going to help you get a clue, it's going to empower you to do what needs to be done. So don't be a ludtard. Join the How to Become the True Media seminar for 2023, and you'll get rid of your ludtard mindset. Okay? there's my sales pitch for the day for how to become the True Media. Check it out. You could get the basic course curriculum at howtobecomthetruemedia.com. Don't miss out on this unique opportunity. And to tell you the truth, folks, if we don't hit our numbers for this, I don't know how well, What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network are going to survive. Like, this is our main source of donations right now. So if people don't join up to How to Become the True Media, What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network don't stay on the air. That's all I can say. So I'm counting and planning on having lots of signups for this to drive my operations forward. If people don't support the operation in this way through this seminar, it's going to be very difficult for What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network to survive. So that's the real sales pitch, quote unquote. I'll be speaking at The Great Create. Check it out at thegreatcreate.org. This is the convention for the Libertarian Party of Georgia. I was invited by one of the organizers to speak, and I accepted. So it will be taking place in Perry, Georgia on May 12th and 13th. I'll be speaking the night of May 13th. That's Saturday evening, May 13th. Looking forward to it. Lots of other great speakers on this bill. Check it out at thegreatcreate.org. Looks like it's going to be an awesome event. I'll be delivering one of my largest presentations, an all-day presentation. Haven't done one of these in quite a while. Two Masks, Same Face, The Dark Occult Origins of Nazism and Communism. Coming your way, October 21st, 2023 at the Exton Hotel and Conference Center in Exton, Pennsylvania. The donations for attending live will be made available. I'm calling it tickets, okay? But they're basically donations for a private invitation, which you will receive to attend in person in return for a private donation. Those will be available May 1st, 2023, in just over a week. Okay? So, about a week from today, that is, I believe. 1 week and 1 day, 8 days from today, the donations will open up for attending Two Masks, Same Face in person in Exton, Pennsylvania on October 21st. So you want to check that out at whatonearthishappening.com. We'll be linking into our gifts area for those ticket donations for Two Masks, Same Face in just over a week. There's a new section called Technology Donations on What on Earth is Happening donation gifts. I'm pointing it out here in the gift categories on the right, or if you're on the categories page, I'm putting it at the very top. This is basically an area where, for technological items that we require to disseminate the word here at What on Earth is Happening, that are expensive items, too expensive, what I deem too expensive for one person to pick up the tab for, okay? So in order to procure them, we're going to crowdsource fund them and make it, something that is distributed amongst many people. Again, many hands make light work. That's why we're doing this type of crowdsource funding at What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network. Right now, we don't have any items up there because people donated for the 3 items that have been put into this section already. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's wonderful that people donated for these tech items. I want to say one thing regarding the new Mac Studio donation. We got the donations fulfilled last week. To everyone who donated, thank you. What I'm going to do regarding the new Mac Studio for my permanent home studio here in-house. You're seeing me in a temporary location. I'm broadcasting out of my office right now. I'll be setting up a permanent home studio. Now, what I'm going to do, instead of buying this Mac Studio immediately, and I feel like it's just, I want to be fair to tell the people who donated for this, I will be delaying on this purchase. The funds are being held right now, and I will be buying a Mac Studio after the Worldwide Developers Conference coming up in early June. The reason I'm holding off on this is because there may be a new cycle of Mac Studios coming out with higher end processors. That is at least the rumor. I'm going to wait until right after the keynote address at WWDC, Worldwide Developers Conference for Apple 2023, to see if a new Mac Studio is released on June 6th. That's just over 1 month. If a new Mac Studio comes out, I will be buying it immediately with the funds that came in for the Mac Studio donation for my home studio. If the announcement is not made at WWDC, then I will be buying the higher end M1 Mac Studio immediately. So either way, I'll be putting the order in early June. I just want to let people know that because they did donate their hard-earned money for me to procure this computer. I'm just letting everyone know I'm delaying on the actual purchase by a month to see what is released at the Worldwide Developers Conference. Just in full disclosure, I wanted to let people know that I will delay that purchase until that keynote address is made at WWDC 2023. OneGreatWorkNetwork.com going very strong with 70 great content creators providing new content every single day. Check it out at OneGreatWorkNetwork.com. Of course, my guest Jay Parker today, also a content creator of the One Great Work Network. Check it out, OneGreatWorkNetwork.com. Please donate to all of the great content creators there. They all have individual donation pages on their own blog pages. So when you go to creators on the site, you could click into anybody's blog page, check out their content, and you could donate to their personal cause as well. Again, One Great Work Network is run entirely on donations. There is no subscription fees, nothing like that. We want to keep all this content completely free and open. That's the goal of both What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network. And I have a quick announcement to make regarding an item that I just put into gifts. I'll show you that in a moment. But my Band.video channel is up. Again, I've been just about going crazy playing catch up here in the new house and, basically getting things positioned and, getting them organized. And it's been going great. I want to thank everybody who has helped. You guys have been phenomenal. So I've had people come over and help with just, setup of things in the home, setup of my tech items, setup of, everything that I need set up here and organized. So thank you to everybody who has donated their time so far in helping me do that. But I will be getting back to my Band.video channel very, very soon. Check it out, Band.video/channel/Mark-Passio. 2 videos up there. I'll be adding many more to come. And again, I'll probably be doing some exclusive content for Band.video only. Don't Tread on Philly meets the second Wednesday of every month for the D-Top Happy Hour, a social meetup for people concerned about the loss of freedom. Check it out on the second Wednesday of the month, 6 to 9 p.m. at the Dive Bar in South Philadelphia on East Passyunk Avenue. Great venue, great people show up all the time. If you're in the Philly area, do check it out. It's always free to attend. You can check it out at don'ttreadonphilly.com or go to Don't Tread on Philly on Facebook. Inquire and Inspire had their documentary night this past Thursday. It was awesome. They showed Kathy O'Brien's new documentary. It was a brilliant documentary. This meetup takes place the third Thursday of every month at Arnold's Family Fun Center, which is an awesome place. They have everything there, go-karts, bowling alley, which I'll be going to myself and maybe practicing a little bit, getting back into rolling. And, they have a rock climbing wall. They have, ski ball. I mean, you name it, they have it there. Pool tables, just about everything that you could possibly imagine in there. So, it's a great place, fun for the whole family, and we screen the documentaries in their theater room on location. And check it out, inquireandinspire.com. If you're in the area around Oaks, Pennsylvania, this is a meetup you don't want to miss either. Great discussions always follow. And I just should say, next month, on the third Thursday of May, we are going to be screening, or I should say Jeff, who runs the documentary night, is going to be screening my own documentary, Mark Passio and the Science of Natural Law. So this is going to be the first public screening of Mark Passio and the Science of Natural Law. Let me give you the exact date here. It will be taking place on May 18th, 2023. May 18th, 2023 at the Inquire and Inspire Documentary Movie Night in Oaks, Pennsylvania at Arnold's Family Fun Center. May 18th, we will be screening Mark Passio and the Science of Natural Law. First public screening that I've at least hosted, and I'll be doing a Q&A session at the end of the documentary screening. So definitely check that out if you're in the area in around Philadelphia, in the suburban area around Oaks, May 18th. The What on Earth is Happening IPFS project is running. We have 3 nodes up with more to come this year. My goal was to hit 5 nodes. We'll definitely do that by the end of the year. Check it out, whatonearthishappening.com/IPFS. The minimum requirements are you need 200 megabits of bandwidth in the upload direction. If you do have that, check out the form at this website, and you can get all of the preliminary requirements, and it discusses what equipment will be used. whatonearthishappening.com/IPFS. If you are interested in helping me to preserve my content online in the Web 3.0 format that is IPFS, to make it censorship proof, at least highly censorship resistant. To call into today's show, check out whatonearthishappening.com/call. That'll take you into our Telegram call-in room where we take calls, and we'll be doing calls in the second hour of the show, probably the last half hour. ARC 2.0 is available. This is a 2 terabyte hard drive. You send it to me. I fill it up with all my research data that I've acquired over the years and ship it back out to you. 26,000 audio files, 9,500 books, 3,400 videos. Check out the shipping instructions available at whatonearthishappening.com/ARC. The ARC drive is a tremendously popular offer. I get them so much anymore, they've been kind of difficult to keep up with. But I do keep up with them, and I try to get them right back out to people. Check it out, whatonearthishappening.com/ARC, the amazing repository of knowledge. If you want to make a donation to receive gift items here at What on Earth is Happening, you can go to gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. We have the One Great Work collection Passio drive, which is all of my work on one solid state drive. My natural law documentary, t-shirts, flash drives, DVDs, stickers, buttons, coasters, you name it, keychains, all available at gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. If you would prefer rather to make a straight donation to the What on Earth is Happening cause, visit whatonearthishappening.com/donate, where you can make a donation via technology. You can make a donation via Cash App, GPay, Wise, many, many different cryptocurrencies, or in the old-fashioned way by mailing a check or money order. I want to say one more thing. I'm going to briefly step out of my presentation and open up my web browser real quick, because I want to quickly show you guys an item on technology gifts. So here we go. Let me see where it is. It's in the, I'll go to categories and go to, let's look at it on flash drive first. And here it is right here. Anarchy and the Occult Part 3 on flash drive and DVD, now available. This is the presentation that I gave this year at Anarchapulco 2023. So this one is now available in gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. That's the flash drive, and it is also available on DVD. Here's the DVD of it. This was a great talk, just shy of 2 hours. Check it out at gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. Anarchy and the Occult Part 3, The Only Solution to Slavery. I gave it back on February 6th of this year. That's the back cover of the DVD. All right, folks, that's all I really wanted to get into. Give me a moment. Let me get my headset on. And it looks like, let's see. All right, Jay, I've unmuted you on the server side. Go ahead and unmute yourself and turn on your camera, and I'll bring you into the streaming setup. Jay, if you are hearing me, please unmute yourself. All right, looks like Jay's having some technical issues. Let me see if I could help him correct those. Give me a moment. I apologize for this, folks. This happens sometimes. I should be able to clear it up momentarily. If we have problems, we may have to delay Jay, and we'll go with your calls. But let's see if I can correct this. This was working immediately before the show, and it looks like some problems have developed. Let's see if I can correct this here. All right, Jay, I think I can hear you. I can see you now, so give me 1 minute, and I'm going to read your bio, and we'll get started. Hold on. All right. Here we go. There you are. I have to adjust this a little bit. Perfect. Okay. All right, let me bring your bio up here. Ladies and gentlemen, my special guest today on What on Earth is Happening is Jay Parker, a healer and truth activist. Jay was born into a multi-generational satanic Illuminati family and suffered monarch trauma-based mind control as a child. For the first 7 years of his life, Jay was subject to satanic ritual abuse in a large cult setting. After a triggering incident in 2001, Jay recollected his memories of his childhood abuse and broke his slave programming. Spending roughly 10 years researching human consciousness, trauma-based mind control, programming, recovery methods, and modalities and healing modalities. In 2013, Jay started speaking publicly about what he had been through and began sharing these recovery methods in order to facilitate healing for other victims of satanic ritual abuse. On his 2 internet radio shows, The Center Path and Matrix Warriors, he provides commentary on current events and world leaders and delves into the hidden world of the dark occult. Jay's mission is to share his experience and research in order to help people get on the center path of life by being neither an abuser nor a victim, and to wake people up to the current world situation and share knowledge so that we can save what is left of civilization and the Earth's ecology. Jay believes knowledge of the truth applied with love and action can solve the problems facing humanity and lead us to true freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, my special guest on this edition of What on Earth is Happening, Jay Parker of the centerpath.weebly.com. Jay, welcome to What on Earth is Happening. Jay, can you hear me? All right, Jay's not hearing me. Hold on. Jay, are you able to hear me now?
Just barely.
All right, let me try to adjust the audio for you. Give me a moment. Technology, right? How about now? How's that sound?
No, you're in my preferences, and you don't have my headset don't have my headset picked.
All right, hold on. Is that it?
That's what I'm using. But for some reason, it's not operating.
Check. Can you hear me now?
It's not working.
Yeah, you're sounding very, very low as well. And this was working perfectly right before the show. Again, folks, you know, this happens, and it's always the same reason: poorly programmed software. There's nothing we have set wrong, you know.
I told you this would happen, but you didn't listen to me.
So we may have to not go to Jay today, and we may need to just do a call-in show, or I may possibly even just abort, and we'll do this another day, and I'll just put it out as a podcast. That's more than likely what we're going to have to do because we can't get the tech issues resolved. Give me a moment, folks. It's probably going to be a wash today. And again, this happens sometimes, and it's what it is. Once again, there are assholes out there that will insist somehow I'm doing something wrong. No, incorrect. I'm doing everything correct. I know what I'm doing. I'm a tech guy, and this has nothing to do with anything that I'm doing incorrectly. This is poorly programmed software, as it is with just about everything. There's no need to bring me in notes. I know what's going on. And to be honest, I'm not going to get upset about it. I'm not really that worried about it because this also could be, people who know how to get into computers and are just fucking with Jay because they don't want him saying what he has to say. I'm still going to try to resolve it for another moment, and then if it doesn't work out, we will just do a podcast of this. And that's what it'll be. Because it's really not worth the trouble and aggravation for the, small amount of people who are really even going to be truly paying attention, to be quite honest. All right, Jay, we have a good, solid image. Let's see if you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, if you want to take your seat, we'll proceed then.
Something's wrong. This headset is not registering. I don't know why.
Well, I'm hearing you okay right now. As long as you can hear me, that's all I'm concerned about. If it will eke it out.
I can barely hear you. It's a joke.
Maybe it's just a damaged piece of equipment that just needs replacement. That might be what it is.
Just give me a minute.
So again, folks, this is the kind of stuff that I'll teach in the seminar and go through equipment and go through settings and go through the setup of software. And again, this is something that people have to focus on if they're going to disseminate this message and get it out there. It's something that is not just going to happen. People have to work at it, and it's work. It's not something. It requires persistence. It requires patience. It requires dedication, and just, you're not going to get your message out there by talking to just the people around you. You're going to hit a wall with that. You're not going to reach enough people. We have to get the message out to a disseminated audience, a wide-scale audience that is all over the world. And you're not going to do that just with your voice alone. You're going to have to amplify your voice with technology. You're going to have to formalize your message. You're going to have to immortalize it by putting it online.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. So hold on a second, Jay. Let me get you. Hold on. Yes, you're coming in loud and clear now, Jay.
Yeah, my settings were not proper.
All right, so you can take your time.
You got to give me a minute.
Oh, take your time.
I don't move well.
I understand. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to your video. There we go.
Yeah, it's just a problem with these settings.
Okay.
I had the wrong headset picked.
Image looks good. Sound sounds
deal.
good. You're hearing me okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, Jay, welcome to What on Earth is Happening. We pressed through the technology problems, and that's the whole point. One of the things that I teach in the seminar is that you can never give up, that persistence is part of why we're not reaching the proper amount of people. Most people, when they encounter a snag or a problem, immediately give up. If you have to put it off and you have to do it another time, that's one thing. But most people will go, screw this. I don't have time for this. I don't have the patience for this. I don't have the persistence for this. And then they immediately give up. And that's why we're not reaching enough people. That's why we're getting beat by the Satanists. That's why we're getting beat by the traditional media and the lying occult media, the mockingbird media. I try to explain to people that how to become the true media is a class in life skills as much as it is technology. Now, what would you say to people who are thinking that they're going to get the message out just talking to somebody? Because you embraced the whole idea of you have to amplify your voice by putting yourself out there online, by going public, by becoming a public figure, right? And yeah, that stresses people out. That makes them anxious. That makes them nervous. They're very fearful of that. I'd like to start the interview by talking about your experience moving into life as a public figure and learning what you needed to do to amplify your voice and how that process was for you.
Well, quite simply, it took me 10 years to get my consciousness to a point where I could even publicly talk about what I've been through.
Right.
And once I went on your show with What on Earth radio show number 17, I kind of broke the ice. And that changed me mentally to where I realized that even though it was emotionally hard to do, this is what I had to do. To do what is required is the difference between being self-responsible and being irresponsible. When you get to a point where, okay, this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it because it is required. Not because it's fun, not because it feels good, it's required.
That's right.
And you have to get to a point where, what am I required to do? And this is a consciousness experiment that we're ensconced in between spiritual good and spiritual evil. You're here to make a choice. And not only make that choice, but also to promote what choice you have made. And the human race is being exterminated. And I'm just saying, are you going to allow that to happen? Or are you going to say no? The lost word of Freemasonry.
That's exactly right.
And the choice is yours. But when they're talking about putting mRNA in the livestock, in the chickens, in the plants, we're talking George Godstone extermination level.
It's
sorry.
Yeah, it's amazing what people have allowed. What they will not use their voice to publicly come out against. Do you know how many people may be opposed to things like this, but they don't say anything? They won't say anything publicly. They won't come out and make it known. I stand against this. I will not allow this. I won't have this. I'm worth more than this. I'm not going to be degraded like this. People will not just come out and publicly say no. It's not about thinking it in your own mind. The only way that society changes better in a moral capacity is when people engage in moral education through speech. Let me say that again to let people get the full connection to this. We are currently an immoral society. We're living in slavery. We're living in a eugenics extermination. That's really what we're engaged in going through. That situation not only will never improve, but can never improve unless and until people learn, as you said, the requirements for changing it for the better and becoming free, and then accept that required action and do it by morally educating the population through their own voice publicly. And this is what I'm actually attacked for. People don't want to hear that truth. They want to believe you can go to the voting booth and somehow change the world for the better. They want to believe you can go to a church and somehow change the world for the better. They don't want to place the burden of responsibility squarely upon their own shoulders and realize the only way we're getting out of this is through moral education in our own public speech. Your take on that?
Well, that's where I disagree with you, Mark.
Okay.
Because all we need is a better team.
That's right. Yep. I mean, it's a matter of just getting the right elected officials in there, right? And then they have this. That's all. They got this.
Well, I mean, otherwise it would interfere with your football watching.
That's right. That's where I get all my self-worth from. I root for my team. Everybody knows I'm a baseball fan at heart. But my real sport is bowling. My real participatory sport. And, to finish this terrible joke, there's only one real sport, the sport of, kings, emperors, and gods, and that's professional wrestling, my friends. Sorry if that offends anybody, but it's still true. No, but to be serious, why do people think that no personal action is required on their part? They've fallen victim to psyops, these stand-down psyops that they keep breaking out and positioning people as saviors, and people still fall for it. We're still in the state of consciousness where we're looking to externalize our power.
Yes, I have to say that how much knowledge has been given to people in the last 15 years. When I look at Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, the people who are practitioners of EFT, the energy psychology revolution, a lot of people just simply do not know what the game here is. And literally, you should look at it like it's a game. and you're scoring points for one side or the other. But it's absolutely a consensus reality. We're all tied together. And if we get to the 144,000, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, me and you joke around about that number all the time. We say, biblically, the number of enlightened souls or like true avatars teaching morality to humanity would have to be at 144,000 people. Are we at 144? Let alone 14,400, I've crunched numbers on consciousness change. It's something that I feel like I have a very good handle on and a good understanding of the proportions and requirements. And, I talk about this with people a lot, and I'll share the numbers I've concluded. If we had 1 million people worldwide that were doing it at a decent level, that were teaching natural law, morality, objective morality, an understanding of the world of the occult, if we had 1 million people doing that at an acceptably decent level worldwide, publicly, and putting that information, disseminating it online, archiving it, we would change the world for the better and end human slavery, I'm going to say within the course of 2 to 3 years. It would take about 3 years with 1 million people doing it at a semi-decent level. We certainly don't have that many people. If we had 100,000 people like myself who were doing this work at the level of dedication that someone like myself is doing it, if we had 100,000 people doing it at that level, we would change the world for the better. We would end human slavery. We would be able to enlighten the world regarding true morality in under 1 year. What I would consider a very accurate guesstimate would be between 6 months and 1 year with 100,000 people. But then I ask people this question: are there 100,000 people in the world like me? Are there 1,000? Are there 100? This is what I'm trying to do with How to Become the True Media. I'm trying to make people put the tools in their hand, put the know-how in their mind to be able to do this work at a level like this. And, you see, we still hit technological snags. We don't have a big production crew. Jay doesn't have a production crew. I don't have a production crew. I'm in my house by myself. Jay's in my house by myself. And look at the job we're still able to accomplish. Did we hit a tech snag? Yes, we did. There's going to be equipment problems, software problems. Software is one of the things I want to talk about. We were talking about this before the show. Software engineers and what they build, their minds are just in the absolute gutter. Their minds are in the sewer. The decisions, the boneheaded decisions that they make. We have to emphasize to the community, building good software, especially in the communications platforms, in the communications department, is going to enable content creators to get our message out there. The content creation community should be talking about software, should be talking about development in the software world, and bringing software developers into a place of consciousness so they can help build the tools that we need to do what we're doing. Your take on that, Jay?
I feel that people are still in the modality that all we need is a better king. And they refuse to look at the person in the mirror.
That's right.
And that's where this action, this transformation has got to happen. It has to be an inside job. It has to be knowledge taken in and brought into fruition and brought into action in life. And you look at what's going on in this world, and I had a funny experience the other day. I saw a broadcast I did with Exopolitics and Alfred Lamont Weber. And it crossed my YouTube feed, and it was 6-7 years old. And all I did for an hour and a half is talk about consciousness and consciousness raising issues. And the bottom line fact of reality. And if you look at Tavistock Institute for Human Relations and you look at the social engineering that's going on in this planet, people are so far removed from conscious reality. They're in a dream world. They are hypnotized because they're so far removed from anything that even remotely resembles reality. When you have people walking around saying that men can become women and denying the chromosomes, the muscles, the skeletal, all the biological issues that separate female and male. And I don't care if you take a bunch of estrogen. You don't have a uterus. You're not changing your chromosomes. You're a trans woman, and I'll respect you as a trans woman. But I'm not going to sit there and say that you're a regular woman. You're not. You're a trans woman. And
how about this one, Jay? I'll do you one even better. How about for living in a dream world, people in the year 2023 still wearing a mask as they drive down the street in a car with the windows rolled up by themselves? I mean, I see this out here in the suburbs of Philadelphia, let alone within the city proper. I mean, imagine being that brainwashed by the mainstream media. And this is where we're largely still at. People in our community, I want to talk about confirmation bias as well. People in our community tend to hang around only with people who are somewhat awake and aware. And then they start believing that the whole world is like this and, saying to themselves and each other, oh, the world's really waking up, because they're in this state of confirmation bias that because that's who they hang around with, that the whole world somehow is in a higher state of consciousness. Like I said, I challenge people, come on a walk with me, come on a drive with me, and I'll show you what consciousness is really like in just the surrounding area. It is a little bit better out here, but not drastically when it comes to what you still see as far as, where people's mindset is at as far as watching the mainstream media and buying into all of the social engineering. We have a long way to go, ladies and gentlemen, and we can't sit back and take our foot off the gas and just think everything's going to go to plan and it's going to somehow all work out on its own. We have to press the issue. We have to give people the information. We have to become the media. We have to counteract the lies of the mainstream media by becoming the media. And that's what people don't want to do. They don't think that it's their incumbent upon them from a moral responsibility perspective for them to act themselves. And many of them, even if they do recognize that, don't know how to do it. They don't have the skill sets. So, what do you think we can do to change that dynamic?
Well, I think one of the most important things to change society is to get people to understand their individual physiology and psychology. If you don't know about the programmable state, and you don't understand why Vladimir Lenin said, give me a child for 4 years and he'll be mine. I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
Or when Jesuit said, show me a child in the first 6 years and I'll show you the man. People believe that they cannot be programmed when in fact the human race is the quintessential programmable species. And herd mentality, consensus reality, and all you have to do is when the subconscious is being formed in the first 7 years of life, you just brainwash them.
Yeah, let's talk about Yes, let's talk about the programmable state a little bit more, because if people don't understand this, they're missing one of the most critical pieces of information regarding why people can be made and influenced to do such horrible things and to not care and to not take action. As I've said in my work countless times, anybody who comes down on the question of human nature, that human nature is either good or bad, is completely ignorant and doesn't know what's going on in our reality. The actual nature of a human being is that they are a biological being that is capable of being programmed. Our essential nature is that our mindset is programmable, and therefore, if it is programmed in a certain way, certain behaviors come out the other side. If it is programmed differently, then different behaviors are expressed in the world. And we get the experience that we put out into the world through our aggregate behaviors. If the aggregate behavior is good quality and moral, we get a positive experience. We get freedom. We get prosperity. We get a harmonious life in the aggregate. If the aggregate behavior is of terrible, immoral quality, then we're going to get degradation and slavery and ultimately death. You know, why don't people understand that, Jay? It would seem self-evident by this point in time, but I think it's religion and the New Age movement and their programmable, mind control programs that are continuously ongoing to get people to insist that human nature is not programmability, but instead is either somehow angelic or demonic. Your take on that?
Well, then again, what you're talking about, Mark, is simply, it's not my fault the way that I am. And basically, I'm going to shirk responsibility for what I do and how I think and feel and blah, blah, blah.
That's the essence of religion, yeah.
Well, it's not my fault, it's the government.
Well, that's true. We can't look at it.
Whatever you're pointing fingers.
Right.
I loved what this old pastor said to me. When you're pointing a finger at someone, you're just pointing back at yourself.
Right. We can't fall into the state. We can't fall into the state of mind whereby we think just because mind control and conditioning and programming exist, that somehow we're still not responsible for our own behavior. We are influenced to behave in a certain way, but we still ultimately have free will and can choose our behavior. Often, what is done is a carrot is dangled on a stick in the form of a paycheck or some other, thing that is comforting and promised to us, and then we're ordered to do an immoral behavior, and most people just won't say that lost word of no. They won't refuse it. They won't refuse the reward for doing the immoral behavior. Over 90% of people, I would say, will do immoral behaviors for enough money, and that's the whole problem. They won't engage their free will to say, no, this is morally wrong, and I won't do it.
Well, you're talking about a fear-based mentation. And until you understand your basic spiritual nature, you're always going to have fear. When you realize that the Godhead, the creator of the universe, is love, and if you accept that love and that grace, you move on to the next level of the teaching program. And once you get on the center path and you're neither a victim nor an abuser, you've got work to do until you take your last breath.
That's right.
It's a commitment to excellence. It's a commitment to care. And all I have to say is people that aren't out there, like Revolution.radio. I've been on their station for 8-9 years, and they have plenty of slots for people to start their own show and learn how to broadcast information and do talk radio. Revolution.radio has got 20 slots open right now. So what are you waiting for?
Sure.
That's all I'm saying. And it's the same with the One Great Work Network. There's plenty of opportunity to practice and become proficient at explaining the information.
That's right.
But I mean, everybody thinks that this is real. Now, twice I've seen the Blue Pyramid, construct, holodeck, whatever you want to say. But I mean, 7.4 times a second, human beings oscillate and disappear and reappear. 7.4 times at 1 second. We oscillate 7.4 times. So we're here, we're not here, we're here, we're not here. 7 times in the space of a second. Well, what's that tell you? Obviously, we're connected to something else, something other dimensional than ourselves. And I'm trying to get people to understand that, Göbekli Tepe, right? That's a big deal. They found something from 11,000 years ago when mainstream archaeology says that there was nothing previous to 6,000 years ago, if you know what I mean. Now, what do anthropologists say about Göbekli Tepe, what they've uncovered so far? What is the message that they're reading?
I would guess that they're trying to say that it's just somehow in a linear progression with the rest of human antiquity and beginnings of civilization, but the data doesn't seem to fit that.
Well, no, I mean, Göbekli Tepe was buried during the Younger Dryas cataclysm, right?
And they're trying to say that that actually didn't occur?
No, they admit that it's over 10,000 years old. But it's an interesting thing. Anthropologists that look at the symbolism and look at the layout and the astronomy and everything, they say some of those anthropologists are perceiving that the message that they're seeing from Göbekli Tepe is you can never be removed from the Godhead. You're always connected to Source.
Interesting.
And that's an interesting thing because we know that the Illuminati forever is saying that the All-Father, the creator of natural law, is our enemy and wants to throw us into hell. But Göbekli Tepe says you can never be separated from the whole.
And I think it's about, the Creator gifting us with the powerful gift of free will so that we can make our reality into a heaven or hell if we so choose. Again, we always joke around. We could have built anything and we chose to build a prison for ourselves and then live in it. It's amazing what consciousness is given the will to do. And we, again, as you said, we just have to choose it. We have to choose what our vision for ourselves is, understand the requirements for building something different than the path that we're on, and then go out and do it. Right now we're building so unconsciously and unwisely that, the universe will allow us to make a hell, because, it will allow the laws of nature to continue to work perfectly in a hell environment. And that's what's going on right now. You know, we're choosing unwisely. We're getting the results of that decision, and natural law is still working perfectly. You know, if we, chose very wisely and we made this into a completely different experience, the laws of nature would still be working perfectly, and we could build a paradise for ourselves and live in it. It's all a choice. It's all about what our highest vision for ourselves is. Or, conversely, our lowest vision for ourselves. The universe will let us build in either direction.
Oh, absolutely. When you look at authors like Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he wrote a book, The Honeymoon Effect, and he talks about the epigenetic nature that we, by our consciousness, choose what genes are open and what genes are closed. Right. And Joe Dispenza talks about this too. The key is to have a coherent brainwave pattern of 0.1 hertz. That's the meditative coherent brainwave pattern. And when you get into that connection with the All-Father and with the field, then you can start to ask and receive what you need in this life. But people, you have to read books, you have to study, you have to do EFT and meditation. It takes effort to change your subconscious. It takes effort to go in there and take the trash out. And people that superficially understand that Trump's going to save us don't feel that they need to do the shadow work. And I just want to say that you really need to do the shadow work.
I'd like to extend that whole message that you just spoke there to add an addendum of a lot of people in our community, even if they don't think any political figure is going to quote unquote save humanity or save people. A lot of people think that this work isn't for them, and think that like somehow Mark Passio is going to save people, or Jay Parker is going to save people, or David Icke's going to save people, or whoever. It's like, why are people not stepping into their power and doing what is required? They just don't want to accept there's requirements for them that they must fulfill. And they don't want to hear that from anybody. They want to hear, you're okay. Nothing is required to change via action, via learning, via action, doing, and you're okay the way you are. And this is what the message of the New Age movement is. Everybody's just perfectly fine the way that they are. No, it's untrue. It's an untrue axiomatic premise. Improvement is required. More learning is required. More action is required. More right action is required. Right action through communication. Right action through teaching. Right action toward publicly saying no and adding to the chorus of refusal publicly with the voice. The bottom line is people don't want to speak to others publicly. It all comes down to, if you ask the bulk of humanity, will you accept a position as a public speaker to other people to help them to learn and to teach them what is required for us to get out of this mess? Almost 99.999% of all human beings will refuse that job. And if people think over 99.99% of humanity can refuse to do that job, and somehow we're going to end up in a positive future, they're out of their fucking gourds, is all I have to say. They're gone gooses and completely out of their fucking minds if they believe that.
Well, we are lucky that, and I just want to say this, that it's a good thing that Robert Kennedy Jr. is running for president, because he's now hear me out here, because he's talking about I don't know if you saw this video where he talks about Operation Lockstep
Sure.
and then 201.
Yeah.
So he's talking about the eugenics.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I think
COVID-19.
he's a good dude, and he is putting out information regarding the health situation that is being driven by the eugenics community that people need to hear for sure. But, as far as putting
Absolutely.
the... Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I don't believe in any king
Right.
except King Jesus, as they say. Natural law is the only truth.
That's right.
There is no higher God than truth.
Yep.
And that's what we have to pursue here unto death. And all I have to say is it's a good thing that Robert Kennedy is running, because he's going to show, and by him being destroyed by the CIA media, just how corrupt this world is and how the truth is hated.
Yeah, I agree. It'll hopefully wake more people up to the poisons that they're giving people continually, that they're hitting children with, that children are suffering enormously, by being given these poisons. People have to wake up to this. They have to wake up that this is a sick, child murdering death cult, And, that brings me to, the subject that you're perhaps the most known for, and that's satanic ritual abuse and trauma-based mind control. We just screened at the Inquire and Inspire documentary night. Jeff just chose the documentary by Kathy O'Brien. I just recall the formal title of it, but it's a retelling of her, life and her subsequent rescue by Mark Phillips, and how then they disseminated the information that they put out over the years. I just picked up her book on healing modalities, and haven't read it yet, but I'm planning to get to it. This is one of your fortes in specializing in people who have experienced, traumatic ritual abuse, and taking them through healing modalities. I'd like you to, talk to your work in that whole field, because it's something that a lot of people need to hear about. Many people don't even understand about SRA and trauma-based mind control. And they certainly don't know the healing modalities that are involved in helping people to recover from this type of traumatic abuse. Can you speak to that?
Sure, Mark. When I listen to a replay of the talk I gave Alfred Lamont Weber on exopolitics like 6-7 years ago, I talked for an hour and a half. He hardly got a word in edgewise, because I was dropping so much information about consciousness. What people don't understand is you have a conscious mind, but that conscious mind only operates roughly 5% of your mind. Your subconscious runs 95% of your beliefs and your hopes and dreams and your, shall I say, biases in what you're seeing and not seeing. 40 million bits of information go back to the source in the morphogenic field from the subconscious. Runs 95% of your adult life. Your conscious mind, 4 million bits of information a second. So you think your conscious mind is running the show.
Right.
But it's what's in the back room, that enculturalization from your society put into your brain, into your hard drive, from 1 to 6 years old, 1 to 7 years old, that you had no saying whatsoever. So you are a spirit, an eternal consciousness in a holodeck, so to speak, an energetic construct, because, I mean, it is a holographic universe. We have density of 29th power. We have almost infinite energy, infinite density. How are you waving your hand in infinite energy and density? It's a construct, just like the Matrix movie. And I just want to say, you can have a good conscious mind, but that only represents 5% of reality. You have to use EFT and actually go in there and reprogram the subconscious to make sure that in your 40 million bits of information that go into the field, you're not repeating the lies that were given to you in the programmable state by the satanic world system.
Explain a little.
That takes
Sorry. Explain a little bit about how EFT or emotional freedom technique works to access the subconscious, because for people who aren't familiar with that, just take them through it.
EFT is one of many new energy psychologies. It was invented by Roger Callahan about 20 years ago. There's a practitioner, Gary Craig, at emo.free. You can learn how to do EFT on YouTube. There's Brad Yates. You can tap along with Brad. But what happens, you're doing acupressure on your body in different places while you're saying various phrases out loud. And what happens through these pressure point tapping, you're changing the energy flow. And just like acupressure, just like acupuncture. And this change in energy flow communicates right to the subconscious. And I don't know the actual how and whys, but I can say in my own life, I've seen radical changes in beliefs and attitudes. And I like this one story Roger Callahan told. That I may not understand the synaptic pathway changes that come through EFT, but Roger Callahan was a certified psychiatrist in LA, and he had a woman who had spent years going to different psychiatrists. She had a morbid fear of water, and she was going to Roger Callahan to get help. And this is like her third or fourth psychiatrist, because none of them could help her in her morbid fear of water. And so Roger Callahan, the psychiatrist, was studying acupressure and Oriental medicine at the time he had this woman as a client. And he decided, while she talked about her fear of water, he would touch on various pressure points he knew about from acupuncture and acupressure. And as he's tapping on her, she's describing her fear of water. And then all of a sudden, she changed, ran out of his office. Roger Callahan's office was a wing in his home in LA. He had a pool in the backyard. She ran into his backyard where the pool was, kicked off her shoes, sat on the edge of the pool and put her feet in the pool and kicked the water like a child playing. And that happened in like less than a minute of doing EFT.
Wow.
Rudimentarily. And I don't know how the energy flows change the subconscious. I just know that's just one story. I heard a story, there's a video of Gary Craig on stage with a woman who was morbidly afraid of rats. And Gary Craig does some EFT tapping with her on stage, and then he brings up a rat in an aquarium that has straw at the bottom of the aquarium. And it's a regular pet rat, somebody's pet rat. And this woman says, "Oh, I used to be totally afraid of rats." And she actually reached in and petted the rat.
See, I think it's like we're a biological computer to the extent that there's pathways in our physiology, just like there's pathways in a computer circuit board. And if energy gets bottled up and locked up in certain ways, this is one of the ways to make it do an end run around the blockage, redirect it, and free it in certain ways so that we can heal from traumas and move on. Is that how you understand it?
Well, yes. I mean, the stories of EFT healing people are staggering. If you can go on the web and you can just punch into YouTube EFT, and you'll get a lot of videos like Introduction to EFT by Gary Craig. Bruce Lipton does an excellent, 10-minute talk on EFT. But
I believe, doesn't Joe Dispenza also use this in his work, or am I mistaken?
No, Joe Dispenza recommends EFT also.
See,
to help people in their consciousness.
I think people in our community could use healing techniques like this to get over speaking out publicly, to get over fears of utilizing technology that many of them, think that they could never learn, that it's somehow insurmountable. And folks, hey, I'm an expert, and you can see there's always going to be issues and problems. Even with big operations with lots of people, you see tech problems occur. So, it's when a problem occurs, it's nothing to be ashamed of, and it doesn't mean that you're even necessarily doing anything wrong. Again, a lot of that is because of software development issues that the developers are not doing their job properly, whether as individuals or as a company. And, part of what we have to do is just learn persistence. This is another thing that I think healing modalities can come in. Stop, giving up so easily. People just tend to give up so easily in our day. They're taught from the time that they're young. Oh, if that's too difficult, just move on to something else. Why are you making yourself crazy with that? Put that down and then go do something fun. We're not taught the value of a work ethic, of extreme hard work and persistence. That's where success comes from. It's not magic. People are bought into this notion that only successful people come from money. And if you don't have it, you're never going to be successful. You're never going to make money and be a success, as if money's the only measure of success, which is nonsense to begin with. We have to start measuring success by, are we hitting a goal that we set for ourselves? Are we doing what we say we're going to do? Are we standing with persistence in doing an endeavor and then slowly advancing it? That's how we have to gauge success, not just as a functionality of monetary success. Do you agree that people's parents are failing miserably at teaching them these types of values of hard work and persistence and, continuously doing something over and over again, even if you fail, and just never giving up? I think that this is one of the things that not only conscious parenting has to really put at the forefront. But we need to teach healing modalities to people to say, even if you failed, don't let it be a trauma for you. Don't think that this is an insurmountable task. Keep moving forward, keep being persistent, keep doing it until you get it right. Don't give up and move on to something that's just pleasurable and another pleasure pursuit for you. I try to resist those urges and, just keep moving the work forward. This is what, again, is one of the core principles of how to become the true media is it doesn't matter if you fail. Failure is a valuable lesson. Failure is actually a valuable teacher in life. Your take on too many people just have this deep-seated fear of failure. And these types of healing modalities are not only just good for traumatic events in life, they're good to unlock these potential aspects of someone's personality characteristics to help to drive them forward in the great work.
There are many EFT script books that are written by well-trained EFT practitioners. The EFT in the last 20 years of development has really come a long way. Carl Dawson and Sasha Allenby wrote a really excellent EFT book, Matrix Re-imprinting, using EFT. And it's a great story. I'll give you this one, Mark. Sasha Allenby went to see Carl Dawson talk about EFT and teach. She was in a teaching seminar that Dawson was putting on. Dawson's on stage talking about EFT technique, and he sees in the audience Sasha Allenby totally change her demeanor and persona. He could see that something radical emotionally had happened to her. And Sasha Allenby, up to that time, was a 20-year sufferer of manic depression. And she was on lithium as a drug to control her manic depression. So she hit a manic depressive episode right in front of Carl Dawson. He got down off the stage, did 5 minutes of Matrix Re-imprinting using EFT with Sasha Allenby. She has never had another manic depressive episode. She doesn't take lithium anymore. 5 minutes of EFT cured her of a 20-year psychological disability. That's the power of the 40 million bits of information going to the source.
Amazing.
Now, if you listen to people like Kevin Trudeau in Your Wish is Your Command, if you read the book, How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza, there's a lot of self-help people that say what you're broadcasting into the morphogenic field is coming back to you is your life experience. And you've heard a lot of people say the power of positive thinking and all this other stuff. I just want to say that the conscious mind is 4 million bits of information to the morphogenic field and to source every second. But the subconscious mind is 40 million bits of information. So if you want to change your life, you want to change the 40 million.
It's at least a 10 to 1 ratio.
Force.
Yes, it's at least a 10 to 1 ratio.
Right. So the stories of EFT and people using EFT, I use EFT and I have a mirror in front of me to help make it even stronger. And what I'm saying is, Gary Craig has written some great books. I mean, there were people who were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and they were emotional basket cases, and they were living in a VA hospital. Gary Craig and 3 other EFT practitioners went into that VA hospital with those disabled Vietnam vets, and in 3 days, they cured them of post-traumatic stress disorder. And there's a book about it. And of course, do you think the VA is pushing EFT?
Of course not.
Heck no, because that cuts into big pharma's
That's right.
drug profits.
Drugs are their main profit motive. This harkens to my work with the underlying causal factors, treating things at that subconscious level for healing and for helping to drive people toward what they should understand is required of them, is just like looking at the world situation and stop overanalyzing the 3D and going to the level of causality and looking at things from the causal perspective. It's, what I, again, liken to if you have someone who's doing cutting on themselves with razor blades because they have deep underlying psychological trauma. The answer isn't manufacture and sell 100 times more bandages and Band-Aids, and skin ointments. That's after the fact. That's the realm of effects. You don't treat things from that 3D perspective. You have to go into the causal level of psychology. You have to go into even the subconscious mind and understand what is driving these conscious behaviors that we don't fully recognize and understand because we haven't studied it enough from a deep occult psychological perspective, one that is largely hidden from our eyes. This is the exact same thing when it comes to the understanding of the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind, where almost all of the power lies in the subconscious to create the change.
I'm just saying it's a 10-to-1 margin.
At least,
in what you're broadcasting out into the field. It's a boomerang. It comes right back to you as your life experience.
That's right.
So, and if you don't believe me, just do some EFT research, because every EFT teacher will eventually tell you this is the way it is, take it or leave it. And it's up to us to decide, what am I going to broadcast? We're all connected. All 8 billion human beings are connected subconsciously. And our feelings and our thoughts are going out into the morphogenic field, going around the world. We are connected in a net of consensus reality. So you want to clean things up, but people only want to clean the surface. They only want to clean the 5% conscious mind.
Right.
They don't want to go back and heal the enculturalization that was given to them by the satanic rulers of this world. And I don't care who you are. My mother told me everyone on the planet Earth, dark occult and not dark occult, is suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. They know for a fact that you have at least 10 generations of genetic memory in you. In fact, it might be a lot more than that. But they know for a fact right now it's 10 generations of genetic memory. So if you look back at the generations in just your own family, how much trauma are you carrying around?
Imagine in the dark occult world, what they've done to their own children. It's horrific, Jay, who were some of your influences in your awakening process? I mean, you've obviously discussed Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Gary Craig, other EFT researchers. What about people describing the general state of the world, the control system? You know, who are some of the authors and teachers that you respect from your perspective of you awakening?
I think, Mark, to get a handle on reality, you really need to read at least one 700-page plus David Icke book.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And makes it real simple. Start from A to Z, but he'll touch on everything dealing with this prison planet.
Speaking of David, it's amazing how many people don't really know the in-depth nature of his work, especially through his books. They'll watch a video where he's, you know, discussing something and it needs a lot of context that he provides in his book, which obviously you can't do in every video. And then they totally misunderstand his work. His footnoting in his books are just outrageous, and you could research a lifetime just from the endnotes of a chapter of one of his books. You know, so I fully agree with you there.
Jordan Maxwell would be another, and Michael Tazarian.
Sure. Both brilliant.
I have to say, the more I think about it, and recently when I saw that old 6-year-old talk with Alfred Lamont Weber, all I talked about was psychology, self-responsibility, and cleaning up your broadcast into the morphogenic field.
Sure.
And I realize I've been using my show recently, and I'm just, you know, given the baseball scores of the New World. And you know something? There's plenty of people who are describing what's going on in the mud wrestling pit.
Sure.
I really need to take a step back and start teaching every show I do on Revolution Radio.
I mean, that's what I tried to do very early on in What on Earth is Happening, and sort of try to transition it to spurring people on to their own action. It can't just be me saying things to other people and trying to get them to, you know, learn and pay attention. It's got to be other people doing it. Not everybody's going to take it from Mark Passio. Not everybody's going to take it from Jay Parker. Other people got to get out there and put their own work out there. Put your own name on it. You know, speak courageously, speak freely, put your information out there in a formalized way, and then immortalize it by putting it online. And if more people did that, like I said, if we only had 1 million people worldwide out of 8 billion doing that on a daily basis, we'd change this world in a matter of years. If we had 100,000 people that were fully dedicated their lives to it and did this with, you know, every fiber of their being, we'd change the world within a year. If we had 100,000 ultra dedicated souls to that one great work. So, Jay, absolutely powerful information, especially the information about how the subconscious mind works, operates, how we need to do cleansing in that regard via our own shadow work and our own, healing modalities to really, change, what we broadcast out into the world, through our thoughts and our behaviors. What do you think we take the last 20 minutes or so and take some phone calls and let some people ask you some questions?
All right, that'd be great.
Sounds good. All right, let's go to the phones. We have some people waiting here. Let's hear from Patty. Patty, you are live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest, Jay Parker of the Center Path. Welcome. Patty, go ahead and unmute yourself. You are unmuted from the server side. Hit the microphone icon on the call window of Telegram and you'll be unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you go.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to raise my hand. That was earlier. But I just wanted to say that I really have appreciated.
Patty, I'm sorry. Could you just mute the device that you're listening on?
Sorry.
Could you just mute the device that you're listening on?
Oh,
Yeah, so we
sure.
don't get an echo. Thank you.
Okay, let me just mute it. 1 second. I just wanted to say thank you to Jay Parker and his story. I've been listening to all your podcasts. I have been through a very difficult life, and I resonate very much with Jay Parker. And I first saw you on Alex Jones, and you brought me to tears because you were basically describing my life. And you've changed my life in so many ways, and I'm very grateful to resonate with someone else who has gone through what I've experienced. I've been around it my entire life and never knew it. And I did have to do a lot of shadow work, and I think that's very important. So I am taking notes, but primarily I just wanted to say thank you for all of your information. There aren't people out there like you who are willing to take that risk. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to say too much, but I am healing, and I'll continue to heal. The more information, as much as it hurts, is helpful, and thank you so much for all you do for us. Thank you.
Excellent. Patty, thank you so much. Jay, your response.
Well, I've gotten emails from like 15 SRA people who ran across my information on YouTube, and they sent me letters saying I was going to kill myself, but then I saw you talk about EFT and all this other stuff, and Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and Kevin Trudeau, and I used to say all the time, energy flows where attention goes. So whatever you're putting your attention on, you're going to get more of that thing. So part of this experience of life is actually training and disciplining yourself. And it's a real screaming pain in the neck. And most of us, because we were not raised properly, and we always want instant gratification and pleasure, we don't realize the joy of climbing a mountain and going through a little bit of pain to see that vista once we get to the top. And we need to realize that none of us was raised properly. I'm sure there are people in this world being raised properly. I just haven't met any yet.
Yeah, they're few and far between, that's for sure.
Well, the destruction of the family has been the dark occult's number one priority for over 100 years. And they've done a great job of it. The social engineering, it's like, if you want to get out there and start talking truth, you need certain things, certain knowledge that'll make you get up and fight. And that's why reading Tavistock Institute for Human Relations by Dr. John Coleman, or the Tavistock book written by that Spanish guy, I can't remember his name. Estevin?
Daniel Estulin.
Daniel Estulin. When you realize social engineering, when you realize the manipulation of the subliminal coming out of the television, when you realize the attack on your species, that will motivate you. And that's, knowing some of the mud is a good thing, and it'll get you to motivate yourself. But in my life, the thing that really got me to talk about what I went through was not so much to point a finger at the Illuminati. It was to help other SRA victims and other people that weren't raised properly learn about things like the programmable state and meditation that Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, and to have a full, healthy life, because that's not what this society teaches their children. I mean, they know that by the time an American child is 4 years old, they'll have 20,000 self-defeating, self-hatred thoughts embedded into their subconscious. And that subconscious is constantly broadcasting into the field for your life experience. You got to get in there and, as an adult, and put some new affirmations and some new beliefs. It'll really change.
As you said, we can be our own worst enemy just by nature of what we are thinking in our own minds about ourselves. You know, we tell ourselves these total bullshit stories. We tell ourselves we're inadequate. We tell ourselves we're not good enough, that we can't learn, that we can't do. These are all just false stories. That's really what fear is. You know, false evidence appearing real, as it's been called. It's a bullshit story. It's us telling ourselves things that really aren't true, that we have no factual basis for, and that's what these healing modalities that Jay's referencing here can help us to clear out and to get motivated for true right action. Let's continue on with some calls, and let's hear from Fred. Fred, you're live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest Jay Parker of the Center Path. Welcome. Fred, we're not hearing you. It looks like you've unmuted yourself. Give it another shot. Unmute. There you go. No, your audio is not coming through. Check your Telegram call settings and we'll come back to you. Let's hear from Devin. Devin, you're live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest Jay Parker. Welcome.
Hey, Mark,
Hey,
do you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
I have a couple questions for either of you. Mark, I heard you mention in one show about Lyme disease being a bioweapon, and I was wondering if you have more information to share on that or a reference. And then my other question is on human origins, but I'll let you.
Yeah, regarding Lyme disease, Jay is definitely the person to ask regarding that question, so I'll let him take that.
Well, Lyme disease is a biological weapon. It was started by the Japanese in experiments in Korea in World War II. And then when America conquered the Japanese, the biological laboratory work that was being done by the Japanese scientists was taken from Korea and taken to Plum Island biological weapon research in Long Island. And then a Nazi paper book scientist was put in charge of the Lyme disease program. They worked on it in the 70s. Somehow, Lyme disease got out from Plum Island, and it struck people first in Lyme, Connecticut, which is right across the Long Island Sound from Plum Island Biological Weapons Lab. And just recently, the government has acknowledged that Lyme disease was started as a biological weapon. And much like, I guess, aspartame.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Actually, or is it amino sweet?
Yeah. Dev,
They keep changing the name when people realize what it is.
of course. Devin, did you have another question?
Oh well, yeah. Well, and Jay, is that bacterial based or something else, or if you know?
No, as far as I know, it is bacteria based.
Okay.
And there's different levels of the disease. You can have co-infections. It's nasty, but there are modalities that you can take, like Teasel, tincture, and other things to help mitigate it. But I just want to say that 300,000 people a year get infected with Lyme's disease, and they're 75% of the time when a tick that is infected bites you, you have a bullseye kind of like rash or mark on your body, which is a couple inches in diameter. So if you ever see a bullseye on your leg or on your arm, generally speaking, you know that you've been bit by a Lyme-infected tick. And if you simply immediately go to your doctor and get some amoxicillin or some other antibiotic, you can cure yourself of the disease instantly. If you wait more than 2 weeks, then the antibiotic does not work.
It can become more entrenched and even cross the blood-brain barrier, which becomes a huge problem. Devin, thank you so much for those questions. Let's move on and let's hear from Fabian. Fabian, you are live on What on Earth is Happening with my special guest, Jay Parker.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you very much for taking me up.
Sure.
It's been 3 years now that I'm listening to you, and I finally caught up.
Excellent.
So thank you very much for making all the time for us.
Sure.
One thing about what was said, how people give up. And I think this has a lot to do with affirmation society, at least I call it like that. And recipe education comes from the outcome-based education.
That's right.
And what I see now is the affirmation society. We all hear all the time we have to be kind and all this stuff. And they do not realize that kindness can be a weapon to kill you in the end, because if a child runs over the street and you say, I affirm you, you do a really good job, go on, run on until the truck is coming, it's not good. And they're actually doing that all the time. And the same is with recipe education. And then I would like to hear your take on that. They teach recipes, but they do not teach how to learn, like in Trivium. So they have all these recipes, and if there is not the right input, they can't create an output because they never understood how the recipe came to pass.
That's right.
And that's how they educate people that are absolutely helpless in almost any situation. And this is how they continue to control them. Thank you for answering, and thank you.
Sure. Jay, your answer to that.
Well, I'm just amazed at how bad education has gotten. It's nothing but Common Core satanic mind control and manipulation. I've never seen so much learned helplessness. I've never seen, where did all these snowflakes come from? They were manufactured. Where did all these criminals in our society come from? Well, if you look at the section of our population in America that has a big crime problem, you'll see that the nuclear family was completely annihilated, and that basic truths of natural law, like self-responsibility, were abrogated. And so we're not raising people with the right knowledge of self-empowerment and natural law, we're making up this communist system that is simply destroying the strength of the human being. And there's some blowback going on right now, but I don't know where it's going to go.
I mean, that is the whole design structure of the outcome-based education system itself. It's to take away tool sets from children in the learning process such that they cannot really make sense of the world, and they do not have the methodology of the trivium in hand in order to do that. So, Fabian, you put it very well when you said, that they are, not equipping children with, the actual methods for thinking. They're just giving them a recipe and, telling them, that this is how you have to think about this. But they're not giving them the tools to understand how to actually analyze things and come to their own conclusions, come to their own correct conclusions. So, great points that you brought up, and thank you for those questions. Let's move on and hear from Tyler. Tyler, you're live on What on Earth is Happening with my guest, Jay Parker. Welcome.
Hello, Mark.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, okay. I've been a long-time listener, and it's just an honor to be on here with you and Jay.
Thank you.
You guys are my heroes. And I'm a barber, so I try to spread the word as much as I can about your guys' work.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, but you guys do great work. I want to keep this as short as possible to have Jay respond.
Sure.
But, I seen that Joe Biden, he lived in Arden, Delaware for about 20 years. I'm not sure if Jay was aware of this.
Oh, Jay talks about this one all the time. He'll have a lot to say on that, but go ahead, continue.
But I just thought that was very interesting that the President of the United States lived in a village full of Satanists for 20 years. And I think there's a lot more connections than people think.
Of course.
But anyways, I would just like Jay to see if he could expand on that.
Great question, Tyler. Thank you for that. I know Jay's going to have a lot to say on that one.
Thank you.
Well, I know the woman whose family rented the house on Harvey Road that the Bidens lived in. So I talked to the people who owned that property. And put it mildly, after Joe Biden's father, his business went bankrupt in Scranton, Pennsylvania, he moved his family down to Arden, Delaware after the bankruptcy. And Joe Biden says he lived in Claymont, but the truth is he lived in Arden, Delaware. And his family is dark occult, and he is a Marquis of Hell adept. I don't know if he lived in Arden longer than 3 years that the people I know rented this one house in Arden to the Biden family. But I know that when Joe Biden was going to Archmere Academy, a Jesuit private Catholic school, fairly elite, in Claymont, Delaware, he was living in Arden with his family. So I've only heard that he lived in Arden for 3 years. But I know one thing, that my brother, James, my oldest brother, walked into the bedroom in like 62, 61, and said to my brother John and I just met this guy, Joe Biden, and he's going to be a really big deal someday. So 60 years ago, my brother walked into my bedroom and said, I just met Joe Biden, he's going to be a really big deal someday. So the Illuminati had already chosen Joe Biden to be one of the people to push the button, to flush the toilet, to actually slit the throat of America.
He was already groomed for that role. Jay, thank you so much. That's all the time we have for this edition of What on Earth is Happening. Thank you to my very special guest, Jay Parker of The Center Path. Check out his website, thecenterpath.weebly.com. Check him out on Revolution Radio. He has 2 shows on that network. Jay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time for this edition of What on Earth is Happening. We'll see you right here next week. And remember, government is slavery.